Mic on, mic on. Hey guys, how is going? Let me see quickly on LinkedIn if this works. And I'm going to get into the question part as well within a few seconds. Right. So let me see if this works as it's supposed to. To be frank with you, I was super scared because I'm using for the second time StreamYard, and I've been testing it for the previous session. But for this session, for some reason, okay, so click to join live, so it's live. For the previous session, I had it scheduled out. Here still shows live after the broadcast ends, recording, okay. And right now I was like, all right, what's going on? Why it's not working as supposed to? But hey, we fixed it, which is great. So I'm going to give it a few more moments and then I'm going to get into your questions. First off, thanks so much for submitting all the questions. Let me also check on YouTube if this works perfectly. Hopefully, not hopefully, this works well. All right. Gear channel. And we're live also on YouTube. Amazing. Okay, and for some reason, it seems like okay, so people watching on both channels. They are watching on YouTube, they are watching on LinkedIn. Amazing. Oh, amazing. So I'm going to answer questions shortly. Show comments on stage, right? Banners and stream. Okay, everything seems to be set up properly, which is great. I'm going to switch off right now. Okay. So I'm switching off right now YouTube. So there's not going to be any echo there. Oh, I forgot to bring my drink. Allow me one moment to bring my drink quickly. Is there a way to remove myself? Okay. So I will be right back, just one moment. Well, I'm adding myself to stage. So hello there and welcome. I'm going to start. My name is Noemi. I'm the co-founder of ScaleWave. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here today on the Amazon PPC AMA session. I've started Amazon 5 years ago and I started learning more about advertising 5 years ago. So today I want to share all that knowledge, everything what I asked, everything that I did not know, everything that it was like, okay, how to deal with that particular question when, it might sound dumb. I am here to encourage you. No question sounds dumb. Today, literally on a call, I was asked what ACOS is. ACOS is a advertising cost of sales, right? Which it might be like, oh, that's a dumb question, but you know what? If you don't know what ACOS is, and if you're not even asking what it is, How can you know, right? So more than happy to answer all the questions. Today I've been submitted a few questions already here in the chat, and also I received some questions as private DMs. So I want to go through all of these right here with you. Okay, cool. So I'm going to answer all these questions. Feel free to type your question below in the comment section. More than happy to answer them all. And I'm going to go through the very first questions. So question submitted today. This is in the chat. It says, the question is, what strategies do you implement during off-peak season to maintain performance when conversion rates naturally are lower? So this is a great question, and it really depends on, is your product seasonal or not? Here you're saying, what strategies do you implement during off-peak season? So from this, I understand that there is a specific peak season. Now, peak season can mean different things. It can mean that this is a seasonal product. So, for example, something that people are buying mostly summer, or it could be something that is, for example, this week it's going to be Halloween, right? So any Halloween items could become seasonal items. So in that scenario, what we love to do is we're going to look into exactly, is this first off, is this a seasonal item? And for that we would need to know also, for the past year, if we sold this product, what was the expectancy of sales? So how much revenue we made, how many units we sold, so then we can strategize accordingly. Right now, if this is during off season, what I would be doing is, are there any keywords that are not season specific that I should not be targeting anymore? And are there any keywords that are generic, broad enough, that are just describing my product rather than the season itself? I would be looking into that, sure that none of those seasonal keywords are going to showcase in my PPC strategy. So that is the first thing that I would be doing. Second, I would look into, are there any keywords that are evergreen that I could be using? And then are there any strategies that are evergreen that I could be using? For example, can I be still creating automatic campaigns and promote, like bring more eyeballs that way? Can I discover new keywords for my product? So those are the steps that I would be taking in order to maintain performance when conversion rates naturally are lower. Second question is, how do you balance ranking keywords and profitable keywords? This is a great question, and this ties really nicely into a topic that I was just sharing on YouTube. I started sharing this topic a while back, like 2 years ago, but right now I am doing specific shorter and more detailed sessions on my YouTube channel. Just check out Noemi Bolojan, and you can find these on YouTube. And specifically, I'm going through each strategy that we're using here at ScaleWave. Now, there are 5 main strategies. I'm calling them evergreen PPC strategies. The first strategy, it is protect. So these are going to be campaigns that you're creating for your own brand name, for your branded keywords. Then the second one, it is called conquer. The second one, it's called conquer. So here we would be looking into all the products that we have competitive advantage against in any way, shape, or form, either price-wise, either when it comes down to creatives, either we are shipping FBA and they are shipping FBM, either we have higher amount of ratings, better star rating, or more reviews. So whichever would be our competitive advantage, we would be showcasing our product on theirs. Then the third one, it's called rank, and this is specifically what the question is mentioning. How do you balance ranking keywords and profitable keywords? So the ranking strategy, for ranking keywords, we would ideally want to know that those keywords previously performed for the account. And the way how we would be looking up those keywords, we would be downloading the search term report data for the past 30 days or even 65 days, and we would ensure that those specific search terms, especially in sponsored products, are bringing us more than 2 to 3 sales. And then we would be looking into, all right, which are our top 5 keywords that are bringing most of the sales. Very interestingly, what you're going to see on your end whenever it comes down to downloading the search term reports, there are specific ASINs and specific search terms that are going to convert most of the time, which are bringing you most of the sales. This is very typical on the accounts we handle as well. So you would be looking into, all right, which are those most important keywords. For those ones, we want to create ranking strategies, ranking campaigns. We would be creating manual exact match campaigns for each of those keywords, right? And we want to ensure that we're showing up for those specific keywords. Now, the next strategy is called dominate. And then basically what that is, it is a power play of placements. So for these specific exact search terms that we want to show up for, maybe top of search, we would be adjusting our placement modifiers to show up on top of search. So that would be the strategy behind. And then the very last strategy is called discover. Here we would be creating broad match, phrase match, auto campaigns, modified, even category targeting to gain more sales from non-exact match keywords. So based on the question, how do you balance ranking keywords and profitable keywords? It comes down to, what do you want to push for? Do you want to push for more ranking or more profitable or more profitability? Because at the end, if it's an exact match, for exact match, our CPCs for now, always we are seeing that the CPCs are way more expensive for some reason, even if it's the same keyword and it is an exact match versus in a broad match. For example, let's say that we have 2 campaigns. One is auto campaign, the second one is manual exact campaign. Now what we're seeing on our end is that whenever we are creating exact match campaigns, those are going to be way more costly than the auto match. And based on that, what I would really suggest here is look up which are the exact terms that you want to rank for and push more for them, and then see, like, push more advertising budget from them, and then see if that is going to help you more with our organic ranking. So are you getting more sales, or does it really helps? First off, is it very relevant to your product? And if so, you would be pushing more advertising budget towards them versus discovery campaigns. For discovery campaigns, we want to get them as cheap as possible. So very short, the idea is that you can have both campaigns. For exact match campaigns that are ranking campaigns, for those expect to pay a higher ACOS, but you're going to get sales for those exact terms. For discovery campaigns, we have to make them as cheap as possible, so it makes sense for us to advertise for to create those advertising campaigns that might or might not bring us sales with that exact term. So hope that helps explaining what we are doing usually at ScaleWave when it comes down to balancing between ranking keywords and profitable keywords. All right, the next. Hi there. What strategy do you follow for scaling PPC without increasing ACOS? That's a great question. So without increasing ACOS, what strategy we would be using? I think the easiest way for you to increase sales is going to be not an ACOS metric. It's going to be look up the budgets on the campaigns and see how much each campaign budget it consumes during the day. What can happen is that most of the time you might be depleting your budget for the best performing campaigns too early and too soon. So the way how we would look that up, you would log into the ad console, and then you would go into the budgets tab, and then on the budgets tab you can see exactly each campaign for how long it stays active, right? And then based on that you can see clearly, hey, let's say your target ACOS, it is 20%, and then you have 2 to 3 campaigns that are right now under 20%, but the budget is being exhausted too early during the day. So what we would be doing is we would be increasing the budget on those campaigns and give it a day to day, see how do they perform. And ideally what we are seeing on our end, what we are seeing on our end, not ideally, but what we are seeing on our end is that we are increasing budget for things that work or work well for us. Therefore, what's going to happen? You're going to increase your sales without increasing ACOS. So that would be a good scaling strategy when it comes down to how to increase your sales, your PPC sales, without increasing ACOS. Second thing that I can think of right now, and this is going to come down to optimization. What we like to do here at ScaleWave, we are looking into, we're analyzing each campaign type and then each ad type. Giving you an example, right now for one of the accounts that we're working on, for some reason, what we noticed is that ACOS for automatic campaigns, it was just out of, like, it was 200% ACOS, and like previously it wasn't. So I'm not sure if it was a fluke or what happened right now at this specific stage, but we were like, all right, ACOS for the auto campaigns, this goes super high, and the spend percentage for automatic campaigns was around 30%. And we were like, okay, so 30% of our budget is right now goes through campaigns that are not profitable. So what we did on that end, we started to optimize only automatic campaigns. We did not touch the manual campaigns because they were already profitable. So once that we've done that, so we optimized the automatic campaigns. Then we looked into, all right, so now technically we created additional budget and we created new manual campaigns. We saw that the modified broad match type was producing most of our sales. And we said, okay, let's create more of those and let's have them with a bid where we can afford spending that X amount that we saved now from the automatic campaigns. So it was more of a strategic move. It was, all right, I'm seeing that this ad type is consuming XYZ amount. It has this amount of spend percentage. And then we were like, all right, with this 30%, while we're going to optimize it, where else can we put that budget? Let me know if that answered the question. But this was a way more tactical, insightful, like more layered answer rather than the first one with the budget. Both of them works well. The first one, I would try the budget. Okay. Next question is, what are the most important metrics I should track in my ad console? I love this question. And it's interesting because this is such a good question and such a beginner question when it's not. In fact, it's very, very important. So the very first metrics I would track within any ad campaign is spend percentage. Spend percentage seems to be not the most important one for many, but for me it is. The reason for that is that wherever spend goes, that is the quickest that I control when it comes down to either increasing revenue for an account or decreasing spend that is inefficient. So I would look into the spend percentage, and this is a column that you could create maybe when you're going to download your search term report data and you would look up your keyword search terms. And I would highly advise to do this for each ad type. Let's say we're going to do this for sponsored product. So I would download for the past 30 days the data and would create a pivot table. I also created a separate video that goes super in detail on how to create pivot table. You can find it on my YouTube channel. But I would go into that section, search term report, and I would create a different column for myself where it's going to showcase, all right, what is the spend percentage. And then the next important metric for me is going to be ACOS. ACOS, it is really dependent on your product price. but it's a very important metric for us because once that we have the spend percentage, giving you a super clear and very relatable example. Again, today we just went with someone through their account. We were auditing their account, and I was saying, look, this is the way how we are analyzing things. First, we're looking into the what type of campaigns are you running. Are they sponsored product, sponsored brand, sponsored display? Based on that, we will see, okay, how much percentage goes into each. And this particular brand, they were running only sponsored product ads. And I was like, great. So 100% of our ad spend goes into sponsored product ads. Okay, first layer. Second layer, we're looking into, are there manual campaigns? Are there automatic campaigns? Based on that, we can have a better understanding on how much they are optimizing their account. Because, for example, when it comes down to manual, we know that there we're giving a lot less just opportunity to Amazon to spend our money on whatever they consider that it would be a good fit to our product, right? Or their automatic campaigns. Because based on that, now we can understand, all right, so there's a lot of manual control, there's a lot or no automatic control. Based on that, now we have a better understanding. Is it manual? Is it auto? Good. Now that we have that, we would see also the spend percentage. So how much of, or how many of the ads are manual targets? 50%, 60%, 70%. Okay, great. Now that we know that it's 70% manual, the rest is auto. The 30% we would look into, all right, so it's 30% the automatic ads. But what happened actually on this audit? We've seen that while it was only 30% the total ad budget, that budget, it was really low. It was around $1,000 or something like that. So it was a relatively small account that was just trying out things, so they did not focus too much on advertising, but still this 30%, it was 30% of their total ad budget. And ACOS for those campaigns were 2 times as high as for manual campaigns, right? So you see now why that becomes a red flag, because that if you understand that, you're not going to focus anymore on manual campaigns, you're going to look into auto campaigns. So let's see, what can we change on auto campaigns right away? What can we remove that right now it just spends a lot and it's not converting the way that we expected? So once that we have that, then we're looking into, is this a close match, broad match, substitutes, or a loose match, right? And what we noticed is that it was it was a huge number, 130 something percent ACOS for the one match type. I think it was substitute, but they consumed $1 on it, right? So that's why I was saying that it's really important to understand the match types, and then, okay, for each of them, how much are you going to spend? Because then the ACOS becomes irrelevant if you're spending only $1 on it, right? So if that would be the last keyword that you would be optimizing, would make like no specific movement on the account itself. So that's why I like to look into first spend percentage and then ACOS. Of course, if you have profitability goals and if you want to push on that end, you would look at TACOS, which is not advertising metric. TACOS is going to be your total advertising cost of sales, and that is ads plus the organic side. All right, next question here. How do you... Okay, so what metrics besides ACOS do you analyze to measure PPC performance? I already replied to that. Let me know if you would need more insights on that. So, of course, conversion rate is one of them that is really important. The moment that we can increase conversion, technically, we can lower spend. What else? Placements is, again, very important. What we noticed, again, during this audit today that I was just going through with the lady, they were top of search. So when it comes down to placements, usually top of search is the highest cost placement, usually. And what I noticed on this account, for top of search, they were spending like 33 cents. For rest of search, they were spending like 40 cents. And for product pages, they were spending 38%. So top of search was the most affordable, yet technically should have been the most expensive one. So Just by looking into that data of where does the ad spend goes and what is the ACOS for each of those, we realize that they are overspending on product pages, on rest of search, and they should be optimizing for product pages and for top of search instead. All right. Next question. What are use cases of customer loyalty analytics and customer journey analytics? I'll be super transparent with you. These are important things, these are important metrics, and it really comes down to are you running more than sponsor product ads? This is way more into are you running sponsor brand and are you running sponsor display ads as well? I would look into the data itself, and there's going to be a very interesting curve when it comes down to people who are interested and people who are actually going to buy. I can look into more detail regards this. This is really important if your products are consumable, especially if your products are not consumable, are going to be important. But what I'm seeing so far for the brands that we manage is more on the creative side. So if they clicked within the first image, but they did not end up buying, then we would look into competitors. How do they outperform us, or what we don't have that they have? I would look into that. How do you optimize the profitable campaigns? Great questions. So profitable campaigns, when it comes down to optimization, how would I optimize profitable campaigns? I think it has to do a lot with not over-optimize profitable campaigns, especially when it comes down to profitable campaigns, but rather double down on why do they work and how could I replicate them. So for me, when it comes down to, let's say that our target ACOS for one specific brand on a product level, it is 40%, right? 40%, you might say that is high, but maybe this product actually is on a higher end and it can afford spending that much on advertising. It makes sense. So 40%, anything that is under 40%, I would not bring it up. I would not adjust the bits up at all. And the reason for that is because once that we are doing that, we might be ending up in different placements. We just touch base a bit on placements and how each placement acts in a different way. So what I've seen on my end, for us to optimize profitable campaigns, we are not going to optimize on bits. We are going to see, all right, so this is a profitable campaign. Let's duplicate this campaign. And by duplication, what I mean is, especially for discovery campaigns, actually, this is a good strategy that I also shared with Elizabeth Green from Jungler on one of her podcasts. You can find it on YouTube. But basically what we would be doing, we would be looking into campaigns that are discovery campaigns, so not exact match campaigns. Duplicate that campaign without ticking the pause this campaign whenever you're going to launch the campaign. So tick that to ensure that that is not the case. The main campaign that you duplicated, you still want to have it on. And then the duplicate that you created, we would allocate half of the budget from the previous campaign. We would keep exactly the same bids. And what we're hoping for in this case, we are hoping to replicate the success of the previous campaign. So that would be a cool strategy, ninja hack here for you, how to optimize profitable campaigns. You would just replicate their success, right? Let me know if that answered your question, and if you have any more questions, just feel free to drop it here in the chat section. All right, we are halfway through. Oh, that's a great question. So excellent point, Noemi. Too many brands spend hours tweaking campaigns on Amazon only to see marginal gains when the real wins come from streamlining structures, eliminating leak points, and focusing on iterations. Would love to hear what is one automatic setting you see. What is one automatic setting you see the most often overlooked and bleeding budget by sellers? Oh, I love this question. So the most often, like, one of the things that is automatic, and this is again something that I created a separate episode, full episode with Michael Erickson Fachin. with Michael Erickson of Ad Badger. It was about the sneaky defaults that Amazon has on whenever you're creating your campaign. One of the most sneakiest defaults that you can have is the bidding. So bidding beforehand, there are 3 biddings right now whenever you're creating manually a campaign within the ad console. The first one is up and down. The second one, it is down only. The third one, it is fixed bid. Back, I think a year ago or something like that, Amazon made this switch that they changed this placement. So first it was bidding down only. The second one, it was bid up and down. And then the third one was fixed bid. So what Amazon did on the back end, they switched bidding down only to bidding up and down as first one as their default. So if you are creating the campaigns and if you did not pay attention, the bidding up and down is your default right now. So be very, very careful, because what that means is that Amazon can up real time your bid based on whatever they consider that you would be converting for. So be super, super careful when you're creating that. Double check that your bidding is never up and down. The second option, or the second thing that, again, it's an auto setup whenever you're creating your campaign, it's going to allow you to create a campaign in multiple marketplaces. For some brands, we've seen this on by default. For others, it's still, you require a check mark to have that. But for you, whenever you're creating your ads, ensure that it's going to be created only in the marketplace you want to create the ads. Giving you an example, if you're selling both in US and Canada, and by mistake this setting is on, you would be creating ads both in US and in Canada, which again, Amazon is just going to spend your money. It's not their fault. This is a advertising platform. They're trying to maximize as much as possible their profits. All right, I do have a third one that is automatic setting again on. That is very important for you. And this is especially regards the daily budget limits. So if you're going to go into your ad console and the settings section, it's going to ask you by how much. No, beforehand, it was asking you by how much you allow to Amazon to increase your budget. And when they rolled out this feature, what they did is 20% and then also 100%. So what they did, Amazon on their end, they made this switch that they are allowed to spend up to 100% your budget. AKA, if you have a $3,000 monthly budget that you want to spend, they were maxing your budget to $6,000. And why this is really important is because it's a sneaky default that you're not going to see until you're going to notice that, hey, I'm spending way more than I wanted to initially on a daily basis. So you would have to check on a daily basis. That's what we're doing at Scale with during daily account monitoring. We are checking again on a daily basis how much we are spending, because based on that, we can see clearly if there are any adjustments like sneaky defaults like this on Amazon Ads, how that helped. What metrics you look when optimize the bids? Great question. So first off, I'm going to look into ACoS, because ACoS is it's the advertising cost of sales. So if I'm going to optimize my bids, I am very curious to know, am I hitting the target ACoS? Because if I am, probably I do not need to optimize the bid, rather than look into placement and placement modifiers. So that's the first check. Is my ACoS, do I have a target ACoS? And if so, am I matching my target ACoS, right? The second thing that I would look into when optimizing bids, I would look into how far am I from that specific ACoS target. And here, very important, if you're way far off when it comes down, let's say, again, an example, your ACoS target, maybe it's 40%, your current bid allowed you to spend 200% ACoS. And then from there, we would be reducing the bid itself. So if it's a 200% ACoS, we might be decreasing by 10%. If it is 60% ACOS and our target ACOS is 40%, we might be decreasing by 5%. So it really depends on how far you are from your target ACOS. And based on that, first we would cut more and then less and less and less and less until we would be getting to our ideal ACOS. Let me know if that answered your question. And if you have any other questions, happy to answer. All right. Next question. Do you still work in Campaign Manager to do your bid adjustments? Occasionally, yes. And it really depends on how big your account is. For accounts that have maybe less than 5 campaigns active and maybe have only a handful of keywords, we could use also, and maybe they are only running sponsored product ads, we could use also the targeting tab to analyze those and understand which are the campaigns that are spending too much, which are the campaigns that are spending too less, which are the campaigns that are perfect, like are spending exactly as we expected. So for those type of things, Campaign Manager would be a good way to check. You can also optimize with using tools. Now we internally use a lot of tools that were like in-house tools, right? We just made them and they work perfectly, so we're not using external tools. But if you need, you can use external tools. What I would highly suggest is, especially if you're new to Amazon and if you're just learning Amazon PPC, I would not use any external tools because I want to first understand what are the main key components within your ad campaign or the campaign manager, so you understand which are the most important metrics you should be tracking when you're creating ads, right? First thing is going to be spend and sales, right? So spend and sales is already in the ad console. CPC, again, it's in the ad console. Bids are in the ad console. Top performing keywords is in the ad console. Poorly performing keywords are in the ad console. The next layer is going to be the search term reports, downloading them, understanding which search terms are working well for you. For that, again, I just created a very thorough video on how we would use search term reports and pivot tables to find out all things. For pivot tables, I'm coming from very creative industry that has nothing to do with spreadsheets, which is the music industry. So if I can learn and replicate that like process of do this, you can do it as well with pivot tables. It's just really, you're just going to add some additional data that's going to summarize whatever is within the account. So I would not recommend right away going into tools. Learn what is in the ad console. So based on that, once that you understand that, you can decide if you want to start with adding tools and using tools for any optimization metrics. Next question is, how do you determine when to shift budget from automatic to manual campaign? This is a good question, and my answer to that is I'm going to answer with the question, do you need to switch, do you need to shift budget from automatic to manual campaigns? Why would you do that? Reason why I'm asking you this, and as crazy as it sounds, 5 years ago when I started ads, I never ran auto campaigns for the first two years of starting advertising on Amazon. And I did not run any auto campaigns because auto campaigns for the brands that we manage made no switch, like they shifted quietly into promoting more discovery campaigns. And now in 2025, when we're creating ads for brands, auto campaigns is within the first type of campaigns that we will be creating for them, because auto campaigns right now started to outperform manual campaigns. So then I would ask you, do you need to make this shift? Is that because right now automatic campaigns are not that effective for you, or is like why would you do this shift? I'm not saying you not to do it. I'm just asking, why do we need to shift budget from automatic to manual campaign? Do we need to? And if we know why, then I can go into more detail and answer the question. But I would first just question, why do we need to shift budget from automatic to manual? Is it going to be more profitable for us? Or is it a scaling strategy? You really want to gain more market share, because then it's going to make sense for you to do that. Okay, next question, super detailed, I love it. Okay, in a PPC campaign, when impressions and clicks are high, for example, around 500 clicks, but conversion or orders are very low, around 3 to 5, what key optimization steps would you recommend to identify the root cause? Should we focus on keyword relevancy, listing optimization, or targeting strategy? This is great, and this is going to go perfectly hand in hand on what important metrics we will be looking into. If I know clearly that I have 500 clicks, and if you did not specify what type of campaign are you running, I would ask you, what type of campaign are you running, and how many targeting or targets do you have within that campaign? Reason for that is because right now, the way how I'm reading the question is, it would be a direct hint to anything that is off PPC. This could be very well a PPC issue first, right? So if you have the 500 clicks, and then if I know, for example, for one day you have the 500 clicks, this means that highly probably you have a lot of targets within a campaign that are triggered and do not convert. So then I would look into, maybe there's an irrelevancy issue. That would be the first thing. Maybe the second thing is going to be, you have relevant and irrelevant terms within one campaign. Both of them are triggering data. Clicks are just data, right? Data that is generated, that at the end, the sale is going to be the deciding party, that it's a good data for you to double down on, or bad data that you should be eliminating via negation. Auto campaign, brilliant, thank you so much. That explains. 500 clicks explains that. So if you have auto campaign, my next question would be, in the auto campaign, do you have all 4 targeting types on, or do you have only the one targeting type? By targeting type, I mean, is loose match, supplements, complement, is loose match, substitutes, complements, and close match on? And if you can answer that question, then we could go into even more detail. Because then maybe if all of them are on, the next layer that I would be looking into, all right, out of all these, which one triggers most of those searches? Because then we can see, hey, I have one specific targeting type that is bringing me most of the clicks, and that might be the wrong targeting type. So I would first look into what is bleeding right now in the account. Because from what you're saying right now, it might be that you started at a very high bid, and the bid is too high, it generates too many eyeballs, aka clicks, and that's why it's going to not convert. But yeah, that would be my thought process. Whenever you're ready, just like feel free to reply in the chat. But that would be my first thought process. Okay, what type of campaign am I running? Because if you have told me this is an exact match campaign, I was like, hey, whatever you're targeting is not relevant, or not relevant enough for you to convert. This is a clear sign. But if you're saying, hey, this is a discovery campaign, aka in this case, it is an auto campaign, I have all 4 targeting types on, and then besides all those 4 targeting types, loose match is consuming most of my budget, then I can say, so I understand, maybe you have not negated specific terms that should have been negated, right? So once that we understand, then we are going one step even deeper. Search term reports, go check on the search terms that are being generated. What are the triggers? So are there things that are totally irrelevant to your product, or are there things that are not converting? Because then we would end up with, okay, so I generated all these clicks and 50% of them are very relevant to my product, then we would look into why am I not converting? Is it a pricing issue? Is it a main image issue? So those would be my step-by-step process of going through it. If you're still here, let me know. If not, I'm moving to the next question. This is for Ishad. 70% of optimization can be done in the targeting analysis tab alone. Strongly agree, but there's a but. This is not going to be applicable if you have sponsored brand or sponsored display ads. The targeting tab is going to work for your sponsored product ads. And one more pro tip here, especially what we're seeing, if you're not using software, what we are seeing for KDP accounts, especially those account types, or when we were still running ads for those account types, we had a brand that was selling a lot of books. We manually were adjusting that. It is a pain. So I'm just here to tell you that, yeah, it really depends on how many ads you have and what is your spend. But 100% absolutely, if you're running sponsored product ads, targeting tab to quickly skim through. When it comes down to optimization, that book sheet, those quick optimizations, I just like, it works. Okay, next thing. Loved your post about PPC does not break you, your expectations though. Okay, amazing. Happy to hear that. Care to explain in more detail what you meant? Okay, let me see if I can pull the post here up so you can see, guys. Okay, I might not be able to. Or am I? Okay, let me see if I can pull this question up. Presenter invite. Let's see. Slides, extra camera, video, generate a screen share. Okay. I'm doing this live with you guys. It's the first time that I am actually doing this step. Okay, am I sharing the screen? At the stage. Cool. All right. So this is actually I have too many things open up here. Let me book manager. Show all bookmarks. Okay, don't show all bookmarks. Okay, never mind. Just wanted to make this a bit clearer. So that was the question about PPC doesn't break your expectations do. You expect instant results. You expect perfect numbers. You expect to never have a bad day. One of days feel like a disaster. One spike feels like a fluke. One slow week feels like failure. But Amazon PPC isn't a sprint. It's a system. Systems need time to stabilize. Decisions need space to prove themselves. Strategies need breathing room. If you can't zoom out, you'll sabotage your own success with tweaks that fix feelings, not campaigns. Hold steady, let it play out. Consistency beats panic every single time. And I'm so glad that you asked about this specific post because, yeah, this is based on whatever I learned so far while helping brands scale on Amazon, is that most of the time people are impatient and they're not going to wait. And what I've seen so far, brands that are really successful, they understand that advertising budget for any advertising, any type of marketing, it can work quickly, like you can get results right away. It can take time if you're going to invest just a bit because you're gathering data, and data it's gathered by the amount of spend that you're putting up front. And then sometimes it can, like the data that you gathered can show you what it's not working at all with your product and with your brand. And here super specifically, we had, I think, last year, super nice gentleman and their brand, they were great. And we took over their account, I believe around July, something like that, last year. And they were dealing with hey, I'm just trying out this Amazon stuff. I have these 2 products on Amazon, both of them, I'm just launching them. What do you suggest? And I'm like, so I can have the same amount of spend for both of them, dedicate that spend, and then see what the data brings me. Because here, keep in mind that it's not as much about how amazing your product is, but how much your advertising cost is, so the CPC cost. And what we noticed is that for 2 weeks, we ran ads, this specific amount of ads for the product 1. And for 2 weeks, we ran that specific ad budget for product 2. And what we noticed is that with product 1, within a day or so, we became profitable, super profitable. People wanted the item. It could have become a seasonal item. It was more of a comfort type of, like, you would have it at home, but you can also give the item, basically, especially during like December season and so on. What we noticed is that product sold really, really well, and our CPC was around $1.50, something like that. We also gave a try to the second product, and the second product, it costed us, the CPC was $10. And we spent around $3,000 in ads, and it did not convert. And the listing was very, very well made. By very well made, I'm saying it was super competitive. The pictures were great, everything, like all the benefits and everything possible that they could have invested in the creative side for both products. The second product had it. And then after 2 weeks, I was like, hey, I want to be as honest with you as possible. Thank you. Appreciate you trusting me on this strategy. What we're seeing so far is the first product. It's going to work. It's going to bring you cash flow, positive cash flow, even in launch phase. The second product, there's no way for us to make this work on the Amazon advertising side, and it's not a tweaking issue. So it was not, oh, try different placement, oh, try different strategy. It was that it cost us very, very like a lot of money to even push advertising for that product. And then the gentleman was showing super much maturity and was like, okay, I got it. I'm going to sell this in another way, So that's why I'm saying that it can be very tricky when it comes down to this topic. And really, it comes down to maturity and how quickly can you see the pattern. Should I move forward? Should I move forward with, okay, product 1 is going to work, let's invest more in that. Product 2, let's find a different strategy for it. Or are you just super hard-headed on, no, I have to make the second product work as well? It's like, it's not anymore a PPC issue when it comes down to strategy, but it's really a cost issue. So hope that resonated with you. But really, it comes down to PPC doesn't break you, your expectations do. Okay, so I got, actually didn't got, I thought it was a follow-up question. It was not. Super awesome. Thank you so much for asking the question. I'm super happy to hear that it was a detailed answer and it helped. That's what I aim to provide. Right, guys, we have 4 more left. Oh, I love this question. I do want to take it before we're wrapping up. So the question said, should I run my PPC campaigns or outsource it? And I love this question. And let me answer this question from the point of view of me as a brand owner and also me as an agency owner. So giving you short insight on how am I here today with you and I'm chatting about Amazon PPC and I'm answering live Amazon PPC question is because 5 years ago, in 2020, we started our own brand. It was in the pet niche, and we were selling products for cat owners. And that experience, what it taught me, it was like, hey, I don't know much about e-commerce. I'm seeing this as a good way for us to, make additional income and also to, become a business owner. And everything sounded really interesting and fascinating. And now that I understand better marketing, I'm like, really, that was too good to be true. And it turned out to be too good to be true, not on the sense that it cannot be achievable, but in the sense that it took way more investment than initially anticipated. So I was sold on basically have $5,000, and $5,000 is going to be enough for you to not only launch your product, but also advertise your product and invest in your product and brand your product and creatives and SEO and all that. And back when we started, I did most of the legwork when it comes down to learning everything by my own. So I absolutely loved it. And I was very curious about it. And I was like, I'm 100% in. And during that time, Amazon PPC was one of those things that I was really not knowledgeable about. And I was just watching YouTube videos on, okay, what to do with PPC and how to download search term reports and how to interpret the data. I knew nothing about spreadsheets. And long story short, what I noticed is there were certain categories when it comes down to what means selling on Amazon. And those were Amazon PPC, Amazon SEO, catalog related issues, customer service, inventory management, and of course, dealing with your manufacturer, supplier, whoever is going to manufacture your product, and also shipping and inventory and like knowing all those things. And what I realized is that I was not so much interested in all the other sides, but I had to nail them, right? Because I was selling in a very competitive niche. Back then, I did not know that. So besides that, it was also math and spreadsheets and Amazon PPC. It's like bids and targets, and it's interesting. But I was like, that is really the thing that I am curious about, but I know nothing about. So I invested a lot of time in learning and understanding Amazon PPC, and literally was spending, now counting back, 10,000 hours at least into understanding how this PPC works and how to create my own campaigns. And then after some time, I realized that, hey, I'm actually really good at this, and I can also offer this as an additional, thing from my end to whoever is just on, like, beginners on their journey. So that is kind of my story, and that's also how ScaleWave started 2 years ago, almost 3 years almost. But looking back, what I can tell you for sure is that I started with $5,000 investment. In the second month or so, the third month almost, we ended up in $30,000 already invested. And that was advertising, that was all the things that we did not know that we have to account for. And what I learned during that time is that I really needed to learn a lot. And I really needed to match someone who was doing 24/7 days, right? So right now, from an agency point of view, honestly, that's why I'm also on these calls with you guys to answer this question, is because that's what I'm doing. I'm breathing, I'm living Amazon advertising. I'm learning about advertising. I'm learning how to strategically scale. I'm learning all the latest tools. I'm learning all the latest things that like Amazon just impose, or it's like they're bringing up new features and all those things. So I'm investing a lot of time in that. And what I realized is that you have to be very aware of what are your current skills that you have. So if you're already good at math and already good at like understanding PPC, yes, do it yourself so you can understand what is this about and at least ask the good questions. But when it comes down to time, be super humble and honest with yourself. How much time does it require for you to get okay results, PPC wise, right? And back then, 5 years ago, for me, it took around 12 hours to 15 hours to really become good at advertising and learn a lot about advertising. But besides that, I was also doing all these other, like I was wearing all these other hats. And for me, that was okay. Now, for you, really, it comes down to, do you have the budget to have someone in your team to outsource this? You want to do it yourself? Great. But either you would have the budget to outsource this, either you would think of yourself as your own employee who you're paying yourself. I don't know how much would an agency charge. Let's say they're charging $1,500. If they're charging $1,500, would you pay yourself $1,500 for your time? Or would you look into how can you bring new products? How can you make these amazing deals with someone like, I don't know, Walmart or something like that? So it's not only on Amazon, but you can also sell off Amazon. So I would be really honest with myself and see which are the skills that right now I have, and then two, how am I evaluating my time? Because as I was saying, I'm not opposing for you to start, learn. I do encourage anyone who has time, hey, yes, learn, and it's okay to ask questions, and at least you would understand and appreciate how much time we are investing in learning and in learning these skills and in becoming better and better at these skills, when it comes down to Amazon advertising. But I would just advise you to sit down and understand if this is something that you want to learn, to do it yourself, or if your time would be better spent and the money that you would allocate for yourself as salary would be better spent in like somewhere else, because that could really give you the proper unbiased answer. All right, we are 1 hour in. Thank you so much for all the questions that have been sent in. This is amazing. It's our second time here on our Amazon PPC AMA. I'm getting better when it comes down also to this live streaming, so thank you for being patient with me. And I certainly hope to see you back here next week, the same time, from 1 p.m. EDT time. Looking forward to answer all your questions. Till then, be good. Create new campaigns, see how they work, and also ask your questions next time. Looking forward to answer them all. Take care. Have an amazing day ahead. Bye.